Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Kumusta na po kayo ngayong araw na ito ng linggo? Linggo ng umaga po nang lumabas ang balita at nagsalita na ang President-elect ng Estados Unidos na si Joe Biden. At nanawagan siya na magkaisa ang mga Amerikano sapagkat kailangan ito. Binanggit din niya na magkakaroon siya ng isang transition team na binubuo ng mga siyentipiko at mga manggagamot upang mapag-usapan ang problemang dulot ng COVID-19. Mahirap umano ang hinaharap ng kanyang bansa at magiging mahirap din ito para dun sa mga hindi bumoto sa kanya dahil hindi masaya, dahil hindi nanalo yung kanilang sinuportahan. Pero ang panawagan ng President-elect ng Estados Unidos ay magkaisa at magtulungan. Pero siguro, bago natin suriin kung ano yung gagawin ng bagong halal na Pangulo, mabatid natin, ano ba yung proseso ng paghahalal ng Pangulo sa Estados Unidos? Bakit merong popular votes, meron pa rin tinatawag na mga manghahalal mula sa mga estado, yung tinatagurian nilang Electoral College. At dito sa halalang ito, lumabas na yung iba't ibang estado, yung iba't ibang state, merong iba't ibang batas hinggil sa eleksyon. Ano yung mail-in na tinatawag na pagboto? Sapagkat mga ilang buwan pa na nakalilipas, nagsalita na si Pangulong Trump na hindi pwede pagtiwalaan yung pagboto sa pamamagitan ng koreo. Pero siya mismo bumoto sa pamamagitan ng koreo. Yan. Professor Tony LIGON ng De La Salle University, magandang araw po sa inyo. Good morning, Professor. Good morning. Teka, naka-mute po kayo. Uy, nawala. Subukan natin mga kaibigan. Alam po ninyo, bagay ganitong mga pagkakataon unstable yung internet. Let's hope that everything will be all right. And we hope other invited guests can join us to share their views on the current issues of the day. Wala yung ating kasama sa kaya napunta. Medyo unsteady yung yung internet doon sa kanyang lugar sa Bulacan. Okay? Attorney Tony LIGON, good morning again and welcome to our discussion sa ating coffee chat ngayong araw na ito ng linggo. Uy, patayan natin mga kaibigan. We hope everything will be okay so that we can go on with our discussions ngayong umagang ito ng linggo. And I hope you're safe and sound, kasama ang inyong pamilya. Attorney Tony, good morning again.
Good morning. Yeah, malinaw na ba?
I hope you can see me.
Can you hear me?
And I hope
Hello?
to see you. Yes, of course.
Hello?
Of course. Good morning, Attorney. Yes, okay. Good morning. Okay.
Morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Give us the
Good
details.
morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Ano yung detalles ng pagboto sa Estados Unidos?
Well, ang pagkakaiba kasi kahit na minana natin o ginaya natin ang paghahalal sa Estados Unidos, alam mo naman, ang form ng ating pamahalaan, ginaya din natin, democracy and everything, dahil naging colony tayo at siyempre tayo ang tinatawag nilang little brown brother at ginaya natin ang sistema nila, pati ang two houses, pero malaki ang pagkakaiba ng butuhan kasi doon, yung mga founding fathers ng kanilang US Constitution, ginawa itong Electoral College. Ang purpose nitong Electoral College, kaya marami nga nag-joke, ang konti lang doon ang bumoto, 270 lang pala kailangan. Pero yun yung numero ng bawat representative sa bawat states. No? Ngayon, mabibigay sa iyo, bawat isang states nakalaan ng ilang representative ng Electoral College. Kapag nanalo ka sa estado na yon, mapupunta sa iyo yung numero ng representative. So, posibleng mangyari, mananalo ka sa majority, pero pwede kang matalo kung yung sapat na bilang ng Electoral College, kasi kung napanalunan mo lahat, yung maliliit na states, pero pag sinama-sama yon, aabot ka ng 270. Kahit pinakamaraming boto nakuha mo, ang mananaig pa rin yung Electoral College.
Okay.
Itong nangyari ito sa pagkapanalo ni Biden sa kauna-unang pagkakataon, naganap yung overwhelming majority siya kung tutuusin, plus mukhang aabot siya sa 300 plus ng Electoral College.
Okay.
Kaya hindi close fight ang mangyayari at the end of the day. Malaki ang naging panalo ni Biden, hindi lang sa majority vote, kundi...
Yung,
Okay?
yung nangyari kay Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, nanalo siya sa popular vote pero hindi siya nanalo sa Electoral College, right? Yung kay Hillary Clinton.
Hindi. Sino si Biden? Panalo siya sa pareho.
Kay
Si
Hillary.
Hillary Clinton, Iba yung kay Hillary Clinton. May lamang siya sa popular votes, pero hindi niya nakuha yung 270 Electoral College, kaya talo pa rin siya. Dahil yung mga tinatawag na swing states, hindi niya nakuha.
Okay.
Dito kay Biden, lahat ng swing states nakuha niya.
Yung malalaking boto ng Electoral College, nakuha niya. Right?
Oo. At saka marami dating red state na tinatawag, Republican, bumaligtad.
Okay. Pero who gets to elect people who will compose the Electoral College?
Yung bawat estado, meron silang mga rules and dyan, kung si ilan at saka ilan yung, kasama na rin siyempre ang federal government, kung ilan ang representation, no? Siyempre, overall, ang Congress ang nagdedetermine ilan ang bawat electoral college sa bawat estado. Ang purpose nun, sa aking pagsasaliksik, para yung mga kandidato hindi papansinin yung maliliit na estado. And meron namang logic doon. Kasi dito sa Pilipinas, makikita mo kung tumatakbo ka, at nasaksihan ko yan dahil nakasama ako ni FPJ nung tumakbo, merong mga lugar na konti tao, narinig ko yung mga campaign manager niya, huwag mo nandaanan yan, barya-barya lang yan. So, ibig sabihin, binabaliwala nga yung maliliit na lugar. Yun ang nagiging ko. Kaya, yun yung isang dahilan kung bakit ayaw nilang alisin ng Electoral College. Pero itong magandang analysis kapag inalis ang Electoral College, baka wala ng Republican candidates. Well, siguro hindi naman lahat, no? Baka napaka-konting Republican candidates lang mananalo. Kasi nga, hindi popular ang kanilang mga tinataguyod na polisiya. No? Bagamat siyempre, yung mga traditional and conservative policy galing sa kanila, pero sa ganung panahon, medyo ayaw na ng mga Amerikano yung ganung polisiya.
Okay, pero hindi kaya personality-oriented?
Pero siyempre, iba-ibang si Trump, nagiging marami pa rin siyang nakuhang boto, hindi dahil
Yes? Professor? Medyo nawala yung signal mo? Hello? Well, it's the internet all over again. Let's hope that we could have a more stable internet connection because we're in the middle of a discussion. Nawala ng tuluyan yung ating kasama pero I hope he returns. Alam po ninyo mga kaibigan, iba yung sistema roon sa Estados Unidos sapagkat merong electoral college na binabanggit. At yung mga mamamayan who belong to different political parties, they get to identify kung sino ang kakakuan sa kanila sa electoral college. So pag nakuha ng isang state, yung mayorya, yung majority ng boto, yung buong electoral college for the state will vote.
Winner take all yan. Winner take all.
Okay.
So, parang actually, yung numero ng electoral college is just a number, no? They don't really get to vote physically, in the sense that, if we have two electoral college, you don't ask those representatives whom to vote for. It's automatic that if in the states Republican wins, the two votes in that electoral college will go to the winning number.
Okay. Pero katulad niyan, kung pag-aaralan yung demographics, ano yung bulk ng mga botante sa Estados Unidos? Sila ba ay of color? Sila ba ay straight? Sila ba ay LGBT? Ano ba?
Well, pag dun sa, kasi I'm closely following dahil nga sa gusto nating makita, no, yung magiging changes dito sa 2020 as this coming year, no. At siyempre tayo naman, ever since, kahit hindi ka interesado, kahit simpleng Pilipino, pagtungkol sa US, di ba? Parang interesado tayo kasi sa Asian country, tayo yung pinakamalapit at tayo talaga yung na-colonize ng gusto, no? Makikita mo na ang nangyari lang, yung mga dating blue state na nakuha ng Republican, bumalik. Plus, ito ang isang one of the positive things that happened in US history, in the electoral process, yung turnout ng voters. Since 19, ever since nag-start yung election, ito yung pinakamalaking turnout, no? And talagang this is dati-rati, pag nabalitaan mo, may mga relatives tayo doon, siyempre, o kaibigan, sasabihin, wala namang interest bumoto. Ngayon talaga, they took time, imagine 4, 6 hours, 11 hours waiting in line to vote. Kanina nabanggit mo sa introduction itong mail-in voting. Bago lang itong ginawa dahil nga sa pandemic, nagkaroon ng polisiya na pwede kang mag-ballot magbuboto ng through mail. And ang naging issue rito, dapat ba pag dumating na yung mail, i-sort out na tapos ibilangin? Maraming tumutol na Republican, ang sabi nila, pagka tapos ng election, saka lang bibilangin. So yun ang nangyari. That's the reason also why it's taking so long na bakit ang tagal-tagal, no? At kung kukumpara mo sa third world, sa developing countries like Philippines, mabilis pa rin ito. Dahil, biruin mo, sa laki ng United States, nalaman kaagad, no? Ang nagpabagal din talaga, siyempre, yung pag-count sa mail-in voting, plus, imagine, because of the pandemic, siyempre, nag-iingat, so yung pagkilos, may konting bagal. Hindi katulad dati na parang isusubo mo na lang sa computer yan, tuloy-tuloy ang galaw. But may mga human factor na kasama, hindi naman all computerized na dinadala. But overall, kahit na hindi tayo part ng US or what, but because of our relation, and because of yung eka nga, we consider ourselves global citizen na ngayon eh. Lahat tayo may pakialam sa nangyayari sa mundo. So nakakatuwa and it's heartwarming yung nangyari. I'm not being, but I also study the career of Joe Biden. He, marami siyang pinagdaanan plus ang naging factor niya, Camelo, yung tragedy sa buhay niya personally nangyari, and he has this empathy, and he's an expert also in foreign policy plus 8 years of being vice president to Barack Obama that helped him also, no? Imagine this is his third attempt to run for US, and finally he became the US president, 46th US president. Kaya nakakatuwa yung mama sa nangyari.
Yung kayang gastos dito ng mga kandidato, paano kaya yun?
Yan pa yung isang napakaganda eh. Alam mo, nakakatuwa. Talagang kung parang iisipin mo lang yan, no? At kung hindi tayo dito pinanganak, at kung gustuhin mong mag-participate sa government, kahit na ano pang balita nangyayari sa US, sasabihin mo ang sarap nandun ka sa US. Bakit? Barack Obama will only happen in the US. I'm mentioning Barack because hindi dahil sa first black president siya. Because he's an unknown senator. He has no money. Before even he went to a convention, hihiram ng pera yan para makapasok doon dahil malaking gastos. But because of the system of the politics where people are the ones spending, the government is the one spending for it, yun pwedeng mangyayari. Pero siyempre dito, kaya nga, well, malungkot man, pero dahil nandito lang tayo, wala tayong magagawa. Kung sinong may pera, yan ang, at may makinarya, yun ang may potential na tumakbong Pangulo. Doon, pag nakita ng isang Republican Party, uy, ito, okay ito. Si Barack Obama was only known when he gave an introductory speech to John Kerry, And he was noticed. From then on, yung rise niya to politics, unknown senator yan from Chicago, then nagtuloy-tuloy na. And then of course, yun na nga, naging presidente siya. But Barack Obama will never happen here, Siyempre, nag-joke nung panahon nung 2016, kailan ba tayo yung presidential election natin?
2016.
Last presidential, 2016. Meron din daw tayong Barack Obama, niloloko binibiro si Vice President Binay, Barack Obinay, But of course, that's just a joke because of, they say is, they have kulay, But the thing is, hindi pwedeng ganon. Didiretsuhin ko na. Dito, kaya ang mga politician natin, once they stay in power or manalo, ang kukuha nila is to accumulate wealth, money, and will, go into all whatever deals with whoever so that they can assure whatever next election they will enter into, especially if they're going to run for the highest office, they will make wheeling and dealing and accumulate so much wealth, whether it's from government coffers or what, so that they can win. Ala na yung time din ni magsaysay, na tinulungan ng Amerika, na gano'n. Tsaka ang tao noon, yung values ng Pilipino noon, nakukuha sa, eto, matinong tao. Ngayon, it's a different story and it's sad, But still, as Christian, as God-fearing people will believe that change will always happen and will always improve. And we can see that, in the last last election, may mga Biko Soto nangyari dyan, may sa iba-ibang lugar. But of course, sasabihin mo, exceptional yan. But then again, these things happen. So may marami pa rin pwedeng mangyari sa bayan natin na kaya makakakuha tayong inspiration na decency and good natureness and character will always prevail at the end. Kaya nga, yun ang maganda dun eh. Kaya it's so heartwarming. Alam mo, I was reading New York Times, I was watching CNN, sa CNN, merong isang doon, si Van Jones, I think he is one of the one of the anchor in CNN. He cried unabashedly. He's shedding tears in front of camera, and it's not for anything. You can see that, and this is what he said, and it struck me in the heart. Sabi niya, I can tell my son that, you can now look up to your president and say, there's hope and there is decency, which is true, Because being a black guy there, that they suffered so much, and especially kay George Floyd, di ba? Now they can breathe. He said, we can breathe now. So this is not being dramatic, but this is just for the love of democracy, because this is what we learn also from the school, We are a democratic country. No one is above the law. Even if you're the president of whoever, you cannot take the law into your hands. So, in fact, nung nag-declare si Fran he's going to win and have won it, kinapture siya ng mga networks. Hindi na iner yung pinagsasabi niya later on. And the question is this possible in our country? Can the networks here? Baka mapasara. Unless katulad natin, private ito, walang pwedeng magtigil sa atin,
Wala na kuryente.
Wag lang, saka signal ng internet.
Pero yung gastos, ang interest ko lang, Dahil ang sabi, noong magkakaso si Pangulong Trump, nagre-raise ng pondo para yung mga supporters will have to spend for whatever litigation there would be. Ganon din daw yung mga Democrats, they have to raise funds para malabanan yung usapin sa hukuman. Anong tingin ninyo ron?
I don't, as a lawyer, while I'm not the expert on this, no, but from the readings of it, there's no factual evidence. And whether there's an evidence, yung margin ng pagkapanalo ni Biden is something that insurmountable in terms of recount, no? Kung yan ay difference of 100,000, no? Or yung sa electoral college ay difference of
2 votes? Oo.
magiging malayo na eh. So, kahit anong recount ang gawin mo, and ang recount doon, you cannot just ask for a recount in every state. They have different rules when it comes to recount.
Aha.
Parents or what, no?
Yun ang masaya, ano? Sige.
Oo.
Yung recount, I recall, may binalita din na nung humingi ng recount si Donald Trump, lumabas yung results. At yung results, nagkaroon lang ng pagbabago ng 131 votes. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Di po
Kaya,
ba?
yun na nga, ang mga, oo. Kaya, alam mo, sana kung bawat or kahit maraming Pilipino ang siyempre mag-tune in, hindi lang yung basta malaman nila yun mananalo na si Biden. Pero kung observe well, study well, and we learn from it, baka maging mangyari yan, no? Ang problema, yung mga talagang nasa power na ngayon at alam nila yung nangyayari, this is my opinion, siyempre, and tamaan ako sino yung tatamaan, pero hindi nila gustong baguhin yung sistema sa Pilipinas sapagkat pag binago mo yan, matututong mga tao, malalaman yung kung ano yung dapat at tama, hindi mananaig yung mga ang kaya nandyan dahil sa salapi at kapangyarihan lamang, no? Kaya I know what I don't have to explain because I look up to you as a credible, sensible journalist and a fighter during Marcos time, Camelo. So I know that you know exactly well what I'm talking about, and you even know more than what I know. So, ang punto ko lang siyempre is, siguro, ito, parang, despite all these things, parang it's like when we watch a movie, when we read good books, we feel so good about it, no? That these things happen. And this is not just a movie, this is reality.
Yes.
And kahit sabihin mong ganyan, kahit hindi tayo yan, at sa halip na magmukmuk tayo sabihin na, ang maganda rito is, we learn from it, no? Even it's still a long shot where we attain if we can attain that kind of democratic processes. Kahit na nagsasabi sila, parang Pilipinas lang din pala, mga daya, hindi.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference. Hindi ganun yan, malayo. It's because of this person lang.
Okay. Wala silang Presidential Electoral Tribunal, right?
Wala silang gano'n. Court yan. Court.
Okay.
And it's laughable. It's laughable, no? I used to admire this guy. The lawyer of Trump, si Rudy Giuliani, is a lawyer and he used to be mayor of New York, no? He used to be a prosecutor against the mob. And kaya sa sumikat, kaya sa nanalo. But ngayon, he's a letdown kasi he was saying, it's the court who will decide the result. No, it's the people who will decide the result. The court will only come in when there is a clear and convincing evidence that the election should be nullified or there must be recount because of fraud. And when you allege fraud, you don't simply allege it. Fraud must be proven. And that's basic. That's universal. You cannot just allege fraud. The burden of proof is on the one alleging fraud, and the allegation will not stand if there is no clear and convincing evidence that there is bad faith, that there is malice, and that's the prevailing law and doctrine. Whether you go to U.S., to other countries, and even here in our country, that's the jurisprudence. So, that's it.
Hindi
Malabo.
hindi pwedeng sweeping statements lang, ano? Hindi uubra.
Wala, oo. That's why, ang sabi, even those anchors who are not really legalist or legal-minded, common sense lang. They're saying, how can there be fraud when you allege it and then you don't even show any proof? So, kasi ano ba yung fraud? Panlilin lang, panggagancho, pangloloko. Eh, hindi pwede yan, no? At least, parang sa simpleng salita, sinabi mo, niloko ko nito. At least magpakita ka, eto, binenta niya sa akin, sing-sing. Sabi niya, ginto, puwit lang pala ng baso o what. Or, pag sabi niya, pagka sinawsaw ko sa suka, hindi mamumuti yung ginto. Sinawsaw ko sa suka na muti. Hindi nga pwedeng sabihin, baka peke yung suka.
Original yung suka. Ay, magandang umaga nga pala kay Ginoong Abelino Zapanta, nanonood siya sa atin. At yung aking high school teacher, si Ginoong Joel Ostonal ng Ginobatan Albay, mabuti naman may kuryente sila. At si Jay Kumintan Olivera sa Alabat, Quezon, nanonood rin ngayon.
Oy, salamat.
Sa Estados Unidos, matanong ko kayo, yung partido nagre-raise ng pondo, right? There was a Filipino na nakasuhan at nakulong dahilan sa illegal na nag-ambag sa kampanya ni Bill Clinton.
Kasi foreign interference yan eh. Excuse me. Kahit sa ating batas, bawal sa isang foreign entity, whether personal or corporation, bawal ang makialam sa local affairs. Ika nga, in fact, yung mag-comment ka, sumali ka sa rally, mag-opinion ka, tayong ginagawa natin, nandito tayo sa Pilipinas, okay lang. Pero kung mag-opinion tayo doon, sasali tayo doon, nakakatawa, hindi nila tayo papansinin. Kasi unang-una, we're not citizen of their country. It's none of our business, no? Pero siyempre, ito, academic discussion, and this pertains to world issue, world politics, and why it's world politics? Because US has, we know that they interfere in our affairs. And plus, yung issue ng South China Sea, malaking bagay yan. Kaya isang araw, pag-usapan natin. Ang isang magandang nangyari nung nanalo si Trump, because of his character, nung dating meron siyang security advisor, he fired this guy but he's now, may case yan eh. But anyway, I remember his name. Sabi niya, we're going to war with China. Alam mo, a week after that, sabi ng China, we're also for freedom of navigation. So, ibig sabihin, yung pagka-bluffer ni Trump, nagagamit doon sa China. Ako, I'm optimistic with Biden because he's good in foreign policy. Ma-handle niya itong China in a very balanced way, no? I'm not really in to go to war because we cannot go to war. But at least, yung stand nila, magiging consistent and siguro they can say, even China will know that, this guy is not Donald Trump. So maraming respetado even the Republicans, yung mga old Republicans, they have a lot of respect for this guy because they know him personally. So, and you can see him, when you watch him campaign, during that time 3 years ago, Obama or during the time he was given a presidential merit of freedom, you can see the guy also crying. Not because when you cry, credible ka na, no. But, you can look into the eyes of the person. Hindi, maraming ganun. Alam natin yan. Tsaka mag-I'm sorry ka pa, wala rin, di ba?
Anyway, good point.
Pero itong mama, makikita mo,
Yeah. Pero anong factor ng asawa ng isang pangulo o ng pangalawang pangulo sa kanyang magiging karir? Yan. Yung misis ni Joe Biden is said to be a school teacher. No? So, ano kaya? Sabi kasi ni Joe Biden, meron na kayong daan patungo sa White House, kayong mga teacher. Malaking bagay. How do you look at it?
Hindi ko masyadong kabisado. Yung bang asawa niya ay teacher.
Oo.
Kung yun ang pinupunto niya, malaking bagay. Siyempre, siyempre, alam mo, okay, medyo konting light moments ito at nakakatawa to. Ting nagle-lecture ako sa kapwa ko abogado para makuha ko atensyon. Itong sinasabi ko. Alam nyo, kung merong isang credibility at napatunayan na Aquino, no? Sabi ko, alam mo kung ano yun? Separate. Panahon ni President Duterte yun. Ano sila? Tigil sila. Tapos, ano kaya sasabihin nito? Well, sabi ko nung inaugural address niya, sinabi ni Pinoy, kayo ang boss ko. Nagpalakpakan lahat, tumahimik. Bakit? Credible siya eh. Bakit? Eh wala siyang asawa eh. Kasi kung may asawa siya at nasa tabi niya, sasabihin ng mga tao, niloloko mo kami, yung boss mo nasa tabi mo. I mean, that's just on the lighter side. No?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
No.
Pero, you know, definitely, whether you like it or not.
Di ba? Di ba? Don't realize this, seriously. Malaki ang factor na yung wife ni Biden is a teacher because siyempre 24/7 or maliban lang siyempre kung kailangan na siyang nag-iisa sa mga function, kasama mo yung may bahay mo eh. And ako, I agree that if you have a good wife whose, you know, character is and integrity is also unquestionable and is loyal and he knows her place in the family and palagay ko malaking bagay yon and that's very good for him because siyempre makakasabi sa kanya yon ng mga bagay na hindi masasabi ng iba. That's why yun din ang factor doon, no? Siyempre ang mahirap lang, 'di ba? Alam naman natin may mga tao ngang may bahay pero yung pa yung naging negative nila. Kaya kung minsan di sila manalo or kaya kung minsan napupulaan sila. No, I will not go far, no? In the recent history, di ba? Maraming nagbibigay ng reason, natalo si ganyan, si ganito dahil ang kanilang may bahay, hindi maganda ugali or what. Malaking factor 'yan kasi whether you like it or not, still yung family is looked up to as a symbol of the unit of society. And if you have a good family and a good relation with your spouse, no? With the exception, siyempre, sa Pilipinas, because wala namang ito. On the record naman to, nung manalo sa ERAP, ang dami-daming din na to, na maraming, di ba, marami siyang may bahay. Pero nanalo pa rin. Wala, talagang ganun yung mama, destiny niya. Pero generally speaking, malaking bagay yun, na alam ng mga tao na respetado mo yung may bahay mo at yung may bahay mo hindi para maggagastos. Ang may bahay mo ay nandyan para tingnan kung anong kakulangan na pwedeng magawa at ang may bahay mo ay nakasubaybay. So I think that will be a good factor. And tingnan mo si John McCain, when he died, you know, he's a Republican. One big thing that Arizona went for Biden is the wife of the hero of Arizona, John McCain, campaigned and endorsed Joe Biden openly. She's a Republican, Take note of that. And dito sa Pilipinas, walang ganyan kasi. Tayo kasi multi-party. And doon, pag Republican ka, alam mo yung tatakbo. Pero once that you speak up, and you go for somebody who is not within your party, that's really something else. So, and another example, kita mo, pag pinili mo lahat yan, Rudy Giuliani's daughter, no? A true red Republican, diehard, rabid supporter, lawyer of Trump. Yung daughter niya went for and endorsed Joe Biden. Kaya kung talagang, sabi nga nung mga anak ko, Papa, hindi naman ikaw Amerikano, hindi ka naman nakatira, dito tayo sa Philippines. Bakit you know, it's not for that. I'm trying to learn from this because we are a student of history. We are scholars. Sabi nga ni Clarita Carlos, yung ating kaibigan, na napakagaling mag-analyze sa mga bagay din. Idol kaya, kilala mo yan. Sabi niya, you continue to be a scholar by, you know, studying things. You don't have to be in the classroom to be a scholar. And this is what we're doing is something that's scholarly. We look at this. We're not looking at the personality, but we're looking at the theoretical and and the vision of what the world is going into. And here, we see hope. There is a reason to celebrate even if we're not Americans, because there is always a good place for decency, for character, and for good human being.
Attorney, with your indulgence, pati nga police character nananalo eh. How do you do that?
Yun na nga, alam mo, ang cycle of history, I would say, kung tutuusin mo rin, pag pinag-isip-isip mo, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, in a way, I'm not, pag in-analyze mo rin, they should thank that Trump is there. You know why? Kung hindi ganun yung presidente, I don't think Joe Biden will even run, will even win, and Kamala would even be considered. Di ba? Nagkataon na ganun yung kalaban, kaya talagang, wow, nagbotohan yung mga ayaw bumoto kasi sumobra. Di ba? And even all the, pagka I want to entertain myself, you should watch Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, lahat nito, Jimmy Fallon, yung mga, alam mo na, sa mga big networks na comedy show, but they make sense eh. So, pinapanood ko all in unison. Yes, we can relate. We can democracy. Tinetest niya eh. And that cannot happen kasi tayo, we copied everything from America. Di ba? Aminin na natin to. Nung may Amerikano, nung may Kastila, siyempre dati kinaana. Pero nung dumating ang Amerikano, tameme lahat kasi natuto tayo mag-English. Natuto tayo nung tinuro nila sa atin yung English. Tinuro sa atin yung
Tama. Nabago yung lifestyle. Okay.
Banner, yung lola ko, alam niya, style and everything. Grades ko lang. But ganun ka-epektibo yung oras. Doon tayo na, di ba? Parang sa States. Galing sa States yan. Di ba? Parang, hindi mo sasabihin, uy, galing Japan yan. Well, ngayon, iba na lang, siyempre. Ngayon, worldwide na, alam na natin, uy, made in Italy yan. Dati, pag sinabi mong made in Japan, tatawanan mo, o made in, pero pag US made, iba nang dating, di ba? O pag nanggaling ka sa US, iba na. Because of the colonization. But whether we like it or not, yung democracy is one of the greatest thing that they can really, be proud of. Talagang sila yung, yung sinasabi nila pag nag-speech si Obama, the greatest nation on earth. Believable! Kasi only in America, those things can happen because of this democracy, their founding fathers. When I went to Philadelphia 2 years ago, they have a constitution building, pare ko, kahit na hindi ako Amerikano, tumatayo balahibi ko nung pinanood ko yung mga, nila, meron silang parang visitors, and sa mga student ng stage, bubisitahin mo yung Philadelphia kasi doon yung nagsimula yung US Constitution eh. Meron silang Constitution building. Nakalagay doon, we the people. Ibang klase, and because me being although I'm a teacher now, but I would still say, being a student of law, student of history, continuously, it's so admirable that we adapt that kind of system, no? Yung democracy, this concept of governance, no? Siyempre, hindi nga lang pa natin, medyo malayo pat batang-bata pa tayo. Pero there's no other system of government that will really, make you feel great about being a free man, the freedom that you enjoy because of this concept. No?
Okay.
Kung siyempre, lumaki ka sa Singapore o sa China o sa ibang bansa, sasabihin mo, wala yan kasi it's the government or whatever, no? Pero ito, yun. Siyempre, may mga pros and cons. Okay. But this is the beautiful thing. Yeah.
Okay. Attorney, anong papel ng mga anak ng isang presidente o vice-presidente? Mahalaga rin yun eh. Dahil sa pamilya nga eh. Dahil sa, may binanggit si...
Well, actually, wala eh. Ang papel lang nila is siyempre...
Nabanggit ni Joe Biden, sabi raw nung lolo niya,
to do whatever, look at the daughters of nagkaroon ng presidents, di ba? Yung anak ni Clinton. Again, come again, Camila.
Yeah, nabanggit kasi ni Joe Biden before he said thank you do sa speech niya. Sabi raw ng lolo niya, keep the faith. Sabi ng lola niya, no, you don't keep the faith, you share the faith. Parang ganun eh. So,
Sa anak niya, gano'n?
iba yung dating eh. Parang you just keep the faith, pero mas maganda if you share the faith. So, in the same manner, if you have a mindset like that, yung mga anak mo, iba rin ang takbo ng isip, di ba? Paano kasi kung yung mga anak makikisaw-saw na rin, iba-ibang usapan na yan. Di ba? I don't know, attorney, whether you'd agree with...
Well, that instilled the moral qualified. Yung father niya and his mother also serve in the government, I think, and they're good example. No, I don't think...
Yeah.
Itong mga ito lumabas la, yun na yung pagkakakilala. Still that student during his time, but they can see the
Mga kaibigan, pasensya po yung internet natin. Yes, attorney.
And joke nga sa kanya, and he will strike a conversation with the pool. Diba? Makakapagkwentuhan siya doon sa post. Being president. Ha?
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're joined by a good friend, Attorney Tony, mula sa ibang lugar. Si Professor Lucio Blanco PITLO III is with us. Professor Lucio, magandang araw sa iyo. Nasaan ka ba ngayon? Kasama na po natin siya. Sinabihan ko na sumama sa kwentuhan natin ngayong araw na ito. Good morning kay General Paraino, kay Father Jerome Siciliano, sa aking kaklaseng si Angelito Barroso na nanonood rin. Professor Lucio Blanco PITLO, magandang araw po sa inyo. Professor, can you now hear me? All right, he's connecting to the audio. Subukan natin ang signal. Okay, sana makalusot na, magkaigi na. Alam po ninyo, magandang pag-usapan ito. Dahilan sa, kung sa Pilipinas ito, I don't know whether Tony Ligon would agree with me na kung meron na nagsalita na ako ng presidente, palagay ko mahaba na ang pila dun sa bahay niya. Mahaba na sapagkat marami nang babati, marami nang magpapakilala, sasabihin, ay tumulong ako sa inyo. Yan, ganun eh. Ugali ng Pilipino yun. Success is relative. The more successful you are, the more the relatives. Di ba? Attorney Ligon, Tony? Tony? Yung katagaan na success is relative, the more success...
Hello, Camila?
Right? Yan isang magandang bagay sa atin sa Pilipinas. Tapos pag natalo ka na, ala ka ng kamag-anak, ala ka ng kakilala.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, napapag-usapan lang ito pa. Attorney,
hello,
yung success is relative. The more successful you are, the more the relatives.
Camila. Yeah.
Yung kataga na success is relative. The more successful you are, the more the relatives. Right? Anyway, napapagkwentuhan lang yan. Nawala si Professor PITLO. Okay? Sandali po mga kaibigan. Alam po ninyo, napapanang pag-usapan itong paksang ito sapagkat merong bagong chapter yung American history. In fact, masakit nga yung sinasabi ng ilan na si Donald Trump is already a lame duck president. No? Pero yung pagiging lame duck is probably a description sa isang taong magtatapos na ng kanyang term of office. Is there such a thing really as a lame duck president, Attorney Ligon?
Well, they use the term kasi it's been an observation and experience ng mga nakaraan na kapag talagang matatapos na term mo, at lalo na katulad nito, wala ka na talagang masyadong magagawa kasi ang inaabangan na yung susunod eh. So, yun ang pwedeng mangyari sa mga lahat ng ano. But siyempre, ah, may mga exception naman, no? Kung talagang napakahusay mo, eh kahit magtatapos na yung term mo, lahat ng mga dapat magawa, gagawin pa rin, no? But that's the reality. Ang mga tao, siyempre, they always look forward, eh. Parang, ang tendency nga is always look for what is coming, what is being promised or what, no? So, yes, I believe that being lame duck is applied to those who will not implement those things that they have done because people will not be as optimistic as the same before, no? Hindi na ganun kaganansya, eka nga. So, nangyayari talaga. And yung sad part, no? And kahit sa private enterprise, no? Except that, of course, if it's a question of profitability, because being a lawyer, I have some clients who are, kahit na yung CEO, magtatapos na yung ano niya, but siyempre, yung profitability or yung kanyang makukuhang payback will depend on the profitability of his up to the last period of his stay as CEO, eh gagawin niya lahat, no? Eh, pero dito sa public service, siyempre, what you're aiming for is public service legacy. So, the president who's leaving would want to do that, but the people, especially those who will be replaced, will have not that kind of enthusiasm and yun ang masangklap. But siyempre nga, it's an attitude, eh. So,
Okay. Okay. We're joined by Professor Lucio Pitlo III. Professor Lucio Blanco Pitlo III mula sa Estados Unidos. Magandang araw sa inyo. Magandang gabi dyan sa Amerika. Anong pinakahuling developments?
Magandang gabi din, Camelo, at sa mga taga-subaybay mo. Jubilation, no? Yung karamihan ng maraming tao lumabas kanina, spontaneous, para i-celebrate yung electoral victory ni President-elect Biden. Pero alam naman natin na potentially may mga legal challenges na pwedeng isampa yung kaso ni President Trump. So we don't know. Wala pa ring speech na nagko-concede si Trump. Eh. So hindi natin alam kung hanggang saan pwedeng umabot yung legal challenge na yun.
Yeah. Professor, could it be the reason why President Trump had the latest appointee to the Supreme Court confirmed? Samantalang may nagsasabi na mas maganda sana na isulong yung appointment after the elections. Could it be a strategy?
Yes, I think certainly, Camelo, no, may mga nagsasabi na gano'n na pwedeng may malis daw yung or may intention yung pag-appoint na before the election. No? So we don't know how it will pan out, pero certainly mayroong mga gano'n na sentimiento na hindi dapat daw appropriate, no? Ika nga na gumawa ng parang midnight, no, last minute appointment in the run up to a very heated and contested election.
Yeah. It appears to be that this is the first time it happened in the United States na there were certain states na razor edge yung agwat ng boto ng isang re-electionista at isang aspirant, right?
Exactly. So very razor thin talaga yung margins doon sa ibang states, no? At meron din mga ibang states na traditionally ang kulay asul, bughaw, no, na naging pula. Meron din naman mga traditionally na pula, no, na nag-flip, no, towards the blue. So itong election na to in many ways, no, maliban doon sa turnout, maliban doon sa napakalaki ng turnout, no, for both sides. Yung mga developments, no, na nangyari na in the run up to the election at yung mga alignments na nagbago na very few thought possible, no. Pero yun nga itong election na to mukhang hindi pa tapos, no? At least as far as yung camp ni Trump, no? So we don't know kung hanggang saan aabot yung uh, potential challenge, no? Kasi may mga states na yung campaign team ni Trump ay nag-initiate ng petition for recount, no? We don't know how it will prosper. Pero that is something to watch down the road.
Okay. Good morning nga pala kay Ray Jose, nanonood sa atin from Australia, at si Willie Tanagon watching us from Central Luzon. Yes, Professor Ligon, what have you to say? Anong reaction po ninyo sa napapag-usapan natin ni Professor Lucio Blanco Pitlo III?
Well, of course, siyempre, mas alam ni Professor dahil nag-tegaran siya. Pero sa akin, no, with the system that they have, sabi nga, legal requirements is a concession or a candidate conceding to the winning candidate a requirement. No, it's not a requirement. So constitutionally, it's the electorate who will decide. And I think with the kind of system that they have, I'm very well, I'm excited to see if let's say he will not concede. I think I can see a picture where parang sa he will be escorted out of the White House because he does not own the White House. It's the people of the United States who owns the White House. And unless there is a court saying that he can stay there, wala. Hanggang kahit na nag-litigate yan, walang sinasabi ang court, lumabas ang resulta, still yung mandate ng taong masusunod. And whether he like it or not, come January 20, he will have to vacate, no? Kahit hindi siya mag-concede, kahit hindi siya mag-formal turnover. Ngayon, kung dito sa ating bansa na malungkot, kung may ganyan, pwedeng mangyaring magka-holdover, di ba? Dami nangyayaring matigas yung mayor, ayaw lumabas, ayaw umalis. But still, alam mo, I still believe na sobrang institutionalized na yung kanilang democratic processes na hindi pwedeng mananaig yung isang taong gaganong-ganon, no? And I don't think even his own party will support him. Otherwise, that will be the end of the Republican Party.
May nagsasuggest nga, Attorney Tony at Professor Lucio, mag-term sharing na lang daw.
Wala yatang ganyan. There is no such thing. And people will not agree on that, I think, no? And that will also be laughable. Eka nga, kahit di nila inaasang opinion natin, sasabihin ko, anong term sharing? That only happens in Congress, di ba? Pwede yan, dito sa Pilipinas. Pero, wala, that will be unconstitutional.
Okay, napag-usapan lang. Pero, alam mo, Professor Lucio, hindi ko ma-imagine na sa Pilipinas mangyayari ang ganyang sitwasyon dahil sa meron tayong Smartmatic. I don't know whether yung Smartmatic still be a factor sa mga eleksyon natin sa Pilipinas. Ano ba yung system dyan sa Estados Unidos? As far as you know, ano yung naging paraan ng pagboto ng tao? May vote counting machine ba yan? Ano ba yan? Professor?
So meron silang mail-in ballots, no? Meron ng mga states na prior to the pandemic naman na matagalan nilang ginagawa yung ganong sistema. Pero dahil nga dito sa malaking epekto ng coronavirus pandemic, so yung option na mail ballot pati doon sa mga lugar na traditionally hindi nila yun pinapractice, no? Yun ay naging isang primary mode, no, na pagboto. Pero yung on the election day, marami pa rin na tao na personal na naglinya para i-cast yung kanilang vote, no. Yung mail-in ballot na ngayon because of the pandemic, yung scope, no, na in a larger scale na hindi naman used to yung America doon sa ganung setup, no. Maliban doon sa mga iilan na states, no. Yun nga naging bone of contention, no, ng partido ni Trump na meron daw mga anomalya o may mga paglabag di umano doon sa yung sa sistema na yon.
Okay. That being the case, anong nakita mong papel ng media dyan sa Estados Unidos? How did the media cover both camps?
So very intense no yung coverage nila. Even before the election, no, yung campaign period, on the election day, the days after that. So yung kada movement no, ng both parties are well watched. So I think yung media no also no reported yung how intense the competition, yung turnout ng tao, yung reaction ng tao dun sa process. So I think yung coverage, social media platforms, traditional media, it's well covered. I think this election will be in the history books.
Aha. Pero ano ba yung sinasabi ni President Trump na yung mga medyang galit sa kanya, naglalabas ng fake news? Sino ba ang naglalabas ng fake news sa kanila? Yung bang news o yung presidente o sino ba? Meron bang puppeteer? Ano tingin mo ron?
Well, alam naman natin na yung relasyon ni Pangulong Trump dito sa traditional media sa Estados Unidos, from day one, no, hindi naman talaga naging maganda. No, so ang tingin niya yung mainstream media, maliban sa I think ilang outlet gaya ng Fox,
Fox
no,
News.
ay hindi paborable sa kanya. So yung coverage di umano ay slanted or biased against him. Na hindi pinabubulaanan naman no nung mainstream na media outlets gaya ng New York Times, CNN. So hindi maganda yung relasyon nila. So I think isang malaking factor 'yon bakit alam naman natin yung Twitter at yung platform na primary na ginagamit ni Pangulong Trump to express his dismay on how media covers his administration and the conduct of the campaign.
Pati nga Twitter, sinesensor siya eh. Yun ang napuna ko eh. Dahil may mga lumabas, sabi ng Twitter, inalis namin to dahil kaduda-duda ito, misleading ito. So, they're that powerful. Yeah. Pero wala ko na...
Yung community guideline ng...
Pero in fairness to President Trump, wala ko narinig na tatanggalan niya ng franchise yun.
Wala naman. Yeah, I think in fairness to him. Mukhang tanggap niya naman yung treatment sa kanya, no? Kahit na grudgingly, no? Hindi naman siya umabot sa punto na
tatanggalan niya ng franchise. Oo. At pag patatanggal niya sa Congress, no? Anyway, walang ganun. Your reactions,
wala naman, no?
Professor Ligon, Tony, being a lawyer.
Alam mo, nangingiti ako kasi yung latest development na kita ko kanina, kinriticize ni Trump yung SNL. Kasi nga, ginaya siya ni Alec Baldwin. Kaya nag-react si Alec Baldwin, no? Is that a threat to my security and to my family security? Kasi parang nagalit. Parang nag-react si Trump. But of course, ang reaction ng mga news anchor, dati pa naman niya ginaganon yan, yung mga parang hindi kampi sa kanya, pero since he's not doing anything about it, so you can just, just ignore it, no? Now, going back to yung mga fake news, well, sa kanya talaga, diretso niya sinasabi, the fake media or what, but, a clear observation of how media reports what's going on. Of course, siyempre, kung minsan, makikita mo may bias. But I don't think mayroong talagang rabid na maggagawa ng fake news. In fact, tama yung sinabi ni Professor, kung meron bang ma-identify na parang bias, yung Fox News. Kasi parang they don't see anything wrong with whatever Trump is saying or doing. Di ba? Parang yung mga lies niya na chine-check naman. Kaya ako, may mga kaibigan akong professor sa Hawaii na pag nag-conference kami, he really talks high praises for Trump. I just listen, no? And I can see the point. Bakit popular si Trump? Why? He's not the traditional politician. He doesn't mince words. Talagang parang katulad ng Pangulong si Duterte. But you can relatable kasi yung isang ika kanto boy na kung ano gusto niya sabihin to mag-PPI o mag-observe, ganun sila no? And I think yung mga tao in the United States, with due respect, di ba? Nakaka-relate sila kay Trump kasi especially yung kanyang pagiging racist, yung kanyang pagiging, those hardline stance, no? And but that's not good because it's divisive. Parang you against me. And you can see that, no? You can see that. And makikita mo kung talagang tipong ano ka, eka nga yung tinatawag na tipong white supremacist thing, you will go for Trump, no question about it. Na America is for the whites. I mean, wala, hindi mo kailangan ng, it's no brainer no? Kahit nga hindi ka white, pag Pilipino ka, nandun ka at naniniwala ka na, ito mga mapanggulo lang itong mga ganitong ibang race and they're lazy or what. Tsaka plus is generous when it comes to admittedly, yung mga nagawa niya, marami siyang nagawa na kinatuwa. Yung sa mga farmers and everything, kung mag-support siya sa mga businesses nitong pandemic. I have a friend, he told me, he received almost thousands of dollars for support. No, Filipino siya, he has this business. And he voted for Trump. But of course ako, dahil tigaron siya, hindi ako mag-argue sa kanya kasi mas siya yung magdidesisyon yan. Nagdi-discuss lang kami for discussion's sake. Kaya mamaya nga nito, pagkatapos pagtatawagan kami at sasabihin ko sa kanya yung mga sinabi ko sa iyo. See, I told you so. People have realized that they committed a mistake. And that was the biggest blunder in history. No? Yun ang magiging footnote dyan No? But of course, people will still refuse to believe that. At ang masakit nito, there are those people who takes them seriously to fight this out or what, na magra-rally and they will carry their arms para but I don't think that will prevail because unlike us, their institution is so established that you cannot really destroy this with one personality or one person like this, no? Ganun ang tingin ko.
Ang hindi yata matanggap ni Pangulong Trump, pati yung Fox News, nag-report na rin, natalo siya sa ilang estado.
Yun ang irony. The very first network na nagsabing Arizona is for Biden is the Fox News. Yung New York Times, although hindi naman sila ang journalist yan just that they say what they can see. Hindi sila report. In fact, nagulat siya. 70% pa lang. And then until yung Associated Press and the other news network nag-follow through na. Siguro Rudy Giuliani, this press conference niya last night sa last night sa kanila, nagulat pa siya nung sabing all the networks, including Fox News, said that Biden won. So, nagulat siya. Sabi niya, hallelujah, it's not the network who will proclaim the winner, it's the court. Sabi niya, the judge will not believe that. But that's laughable. Kasi it's not also the court, it's the people who should decide who won the election.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. Good afternoon kay Rosie Paula Cantara, watching us from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Professor Pitlo, how will President-elect Biden treat the South China Sea issue? What about the Quad agreement? How would he treat China?
I think may malakas yung bipartisan consensus, the Democrat and Republican Party in terms of having a hardline stance against China on trade, on many issues. Biden during the campaign mentioned that he will support a democratic renewal at home and abroad. So I think yung signal to promote human rights, democracy, in countries in the region, no, including in Southeast Asia, China, of course. In Southeast Asia, we see the wave of illiberalism growing, no? And in China, during the Trump administration, yung late months, no, we see several bills, and many of them were signed by Trump, sanctioning China on a wide range of issues that China considers domestic, no, from Xinjiang to Hong Kong to Tibet. So from that vantage point, I think it could heat up, no. But at the same time, I think in terms of trade, no, it's possible that because unlike Trump, no, Biden has a longer foreign policy track record, no, and I think he can leverage that to make good use of U.S. alliances in the region to try to rein in China. That is what he said during the campaign. We don't know how he will implement that, but certainly I think yung alliance management, I think it may be better under less erratic, less disruptive than the Trump administration. So in relation to the South China Sea, I think the FONOPs, yung exercises, those things would continue. No? Yung port visits ng US Coast Guard or US Navy ships to Philippine ports, I think those things will continue. We don't know how frequent they would be, how intense they would be compared to the Trump administration. That is something to watch out for. Uh, so yeah, I think some things would change, some things won't. The
Okay.
hard policy in dealing with China would be sustained. Uh, Flashpoints like South China Sea would still be in the radar. We don't know how high they would be in the overall scheme of things,
Yeah,
but certainly they would be in the vicinity.
but President Obama said during his time that there is the U.S. pivot to Asia. Do you think this will materialize under President Biden?
Yeah, certainly. No? I think yung Obama-Biden administration yon, yung
Since-
rebalance to Asia. No?
Yeah,
So I think in a way, no, he has uh, i- there's a likelihood, no, that he may recommit US back to rebalance to Asia. But some would say that the Indo-Pacific strategy, the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy ng Trump administration is in many ways, no, a continuation of the rebalance. Only that it doesn't have an economic component, because yung Trans-Pacific Partnership, which should have been like the economic dimension or pillar of the rebalance, Trump withdrew from it, no, on day one of his administration. So I think Biden may recommit to a rebalance. Maybe he can come up with a different name for it. He may probably put back US in the TPP, which I think may be good news for regional economies that wants to, get their hold on the U.S. market. I think Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand are among the countries that earlier expressed interest to join the TPP, but they, I think, suspended because of the U.S. withdrawal. I think U.S. re-entry may be a big factor to attract more ASEAN countries to join it.
okay. Do you think the United States will return to the fold of the World Health Organization?
I think under Biden, yung commitment to multilateralism and globalization would be stronger. He said that one, he would recommit US back to the Paris climate change. So I think the other things will follow.
Okay.
Funding for UN relief works and agency in Palestine, support for WHO, UN Human Rights Council. I think all of those things will follow.
Yeah. Professor Tony, your views, please.
Yeah, I agree completely with what the good professor said. No, and during the campaign, Biden made known his priority towards supporting science. Now, when you talk about science, World Health Organization is in support of science, and just like the Paris climate conference, whatever, all those things, no? He will, United States will again, re-enter and make the proper term is again rebalance or balance these things. Now, I'm optimistic because one of the advocacy here in our country, yung sa South China Sea, yung sa West Philippine Sea, the U.S. now will have a very much more consistent. But as I've said before, no, even before the good professor came in, sabi ko nga one pro na I can say during Trump administration, noong early years, eto naalala ko na, si Steve Bannon, the security advisor, he said, no, categorically said, we will go to war with China. And although it's a bluff, it's a very careless statement or what, but China reacted immediately. 1 week after that, they posted in their website, yung official website, we are also for freedom of navigation. Meaning, medyo nagitla sila doon, no? So, in other words, may positive consequence din yung pagiging ganung leader ni Trump na unpredictable, gang-ho, and everything. And ako, kung spade where spade is, yun, nasa positive thing. Parang, okay ito kasi hindi mo malaman kasi butangero pag sinabi. But, I mean, sa ating language, no? But of course, when it comes to world affairs and politics, diplomacy still holds the key, no, to world relationship and international relationship. While it's nice to hear that, parang katulad ng presidente natin, nung kampanya, pati ako pumulakpak nung debate, sabi niya, ako sa South China Sea, sakay akong jet ski, iaano ko yung Philippine flag, bahala na kung ano yun. Diba lahat ng tao, whether he's serious or not, napaniwala niya na babanatan niya yung China. But when he won as president, April 1, sinabi niya categorically, I don't want to talk about that. I will shut up. I will not say anything. Nung manalo na tayo sa tribunal, sa UNCLOS. Ito pa isa gusto ko idagdag. Ang isang isyong pinag-uusapan, itong UNCLOS, United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. In simple words, ito yung Constitution of the Ocean. Ang US hanggang ngayon is not signatory. There are 146 countries, China, Philippines included, signed the UNCLOS. Pero ang US up to now, while they adhere to the principle of the international law of the sea, hindi pa sila signatory because of at the time ni Ronald Reagan, ayaw nila yan, yung mga Republican. I don't know. We were hoping na kung mananalo noong 2016, nung election nila, kung mananalo sana si Hillary, because si Obama is for that, no? Nagtibot nga, sabi mo, baka mag-sign na sila sa UNCLOS. But we will see kung itong UNCLOS, nag-join na sila. Kasi malaking bagay pag ang US signatory sa UNCLOS. Kasi yung ating arbitral tribunal na pinanalo against China, sa UNCLOS yun. Kaya, nung deliberation, although hindi ito yung topic, nung nagkaka-hearing, yung mga tiga-China US as observer, pinalabas. Why? Because they are not signatory to the UNCLOS. Alam mo, ito yung isang excited ako na tingnan natin kung ano yung development. Sana nga, finally, mag-decide sila to be active in this and malaking epekto to kasi nanalo tayo dito sa China, yung kanilang pag-visit dito at pati yung support nila talagang all out. Kasi ang isang criticism nun, kahit na pumunta dito si Obama, they're parang medyo hindi diretso yung sinasabi nilang, yes, we will go to war with China if they attack the Philippines. Kaya nga doon pinure yung si Trump nung mga expert and nung sinabi ni Steve Bannon yon, we're going to war with China. Kasi parang diretso nilang but of course, we don't want that to happen also. But the thing is, medyo nakakita tayo ng talagang kakampi na, pag ginalaw nyo to, ganyan, Parang gano'n, di ba? But the thing is, of course, we cannot rely on other foreign power, but it helps when other nations like US, kasi yung Britain, Japan, are South Korea are supporting us in our victory in the South China Sea.
Okay.
So kung ngayon magiging consistent na yan at magiging malinaw, and then they don't have to be belligerent towards China. I think still diplomacy will play a key role, and that's one of the things that Joe Biden is an expert on, no?
Okay.
So hopeful tayo.
Okay, maganda yon. Pero yung mga Democrats, Professor Lucio Pitlo, they are known for adhering to the basic freedoms, human rights, and other contentious issues. How will a Biden presidency impact on the Philippines, where there are allegations that the present administration has continued to violate human rights? What's your take on
Yeah,
this?
certainly, no, yung values promotion is at the heart of the Democratic Party, and Biden being part of that party. And in the campaign, no, he mentioned several times that he is for a democratic renewal at home and abroad, and he would support human rights causes globally. So certainly, I think it sends a strong signal, no, to countries in the region, Vietnam, Myanmar, which will have elections, I think today, no? Sa kaso sa atin, no, even during the Trump administration, nakita naman natin yung friction created by, I think, a couple of US senators who tried to block the sale of, I think, light arms to the Philippines in light of alleged human rights abuses in relation to the drug war. So certainly, it's a sensitive issue that both sides would have to address deftly. So I think more than raising, no, I think it's the manner of raising the issue, and probably more than criticizing, no, the lapses. I think it may be also helpful, no, for US to also find ways to be of help, no, whether in terms of law enforcement cooperation, anti-narcotics training, no, providing support to prevent cross-border, no, transnational crimes, no, because some of these syndicates operate globally, no, and US has a very strong network of, intel, and they have these mandates, and they work with many countries on law enforcement issues. So I think
Yeah.
it's something that we can leverage. But again, how this issue will be discussed, whether it will be publicized, whether the Duterte administration will take it lightly or not. So that will certainly affect the relations.
Would you have any idea as to who would be appointed Secretary of State?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. Professor Tony, you have any idea as to who would be the Secretary of State?
Well,
Very influential yung position na yan eh.
I want to know, but right now, my limited research and readings will not give me that kind of opportunity. Plus, of course, there are insiders who have been working there, and well, it's interesting that I don't know if he might call to duty again Hillary Clinton. That's possible,
Very
That's
possible.
one possibility. But I don't think Obama will be a person who would go into that. I mean, he's the type of guy who would probably just be happy to be an advisor.
Okay.
He will not want to be active, after becoming president for 2 terms. Palagay ko, hindi naman parang mga Pilipino yan na parang there is no such thing as
Appoint mo.
retirement eh. Kasi sa Pilipinas, baka councilor tatakbo kung para lang ma-position, di ba?
Anyway, Anyway, it's true that President-elect Biden would be the oldest American president at age 78 when he sits by January 20th, right? Okay.
Correct.
So I'd like to see his classmates at Syracuse College of Law will be as old as him. So most likely he
Yeah.
will not appoint them to the cabinet anymore, right?
Yeah. But because of his
Diba?
experience, he knows a lot of younger generation, no? And kaya nga yung pagpili niya ng vice president, di ba? Ang galing. Talagang, I still believe, divine intervention yung pagkapili kay Senator Kamala Harris, eh. Plus, iba talaga kagad yung dating, eh. Alam mo, hindi mo sigurado silang mananalo, but parang these are the things you can only see in Hollywood movies na about politics. Eh. Actually, if you analyze it, no? Parang, art imitating life, ano? It's not, parang, if it's not happening, sasabihin mo, movie lang yan eh. Parang gano'n, no?
Ay,
But it happens, no?
Hindi, iba tayo sa Pilipinas. Eh si Bong Revilla nga, sumayaw lang, nanalong senador eh. O di ba? Sumayaw lang eh. Narinig di ba nagtatapati? Pero tinanong yung bukate, bakit mo iboboto? Guwapo siya. O mabait siya. O, di ba? Lucio, yung pinag-aralan mo dyan sa Amerika at sa China, mag-a-apply ba sa politika sa Pilipinas kung gano'n ang botante mo?
Sir, baka kailangan naming hintayin maging party secretary kayo, sir.
Pero, okay, looking forward, what are we to expect from the coming administration? Sabi nga ng Rotary Club, will it be beneficial for everyone? Sa Pilipinas, makikinabang ba tayo? Attorney Ligon, ikaw muna. Sa'yo muna.
Okay, salamat. Hindi naman age before beauty yan, ha?
Wisdom, sir.
Joke lang, joke.
Wisdom before youth, sir.
Wisdom, okay.
Okay. Mga ako sa akin, no, whether nung ako estudyante at alam mo yan, at siguro nung after graduation, ang sagot ko kagad, wala tayong pakialam din, tayo makikinabang kasi ang imperialism yan eh. Gano'n, no? But now, you become mature, nakita mo na itong globalization, nakita mo na itong world politics, yung international relation, may pakialam na tayo sa mga nangyayari, lalo na sa US, no? Sa Asian countries, sa anong paman. Plus, whether we like it or not, nandyan pa rin ang ating US-Philippine relations. So sa akin, maganda at hopeful ako at malaki ang pakinabang kasi nga, una, yung sa mga foreign policy, it's always proven na ang Democrat always adhere to what we believe in. Itong mga human rights violation, mga wag dapat yan, itong mga abuses of power, the rule of law, and siyempre, yan yung mga gusto natin na ma-develop pa sa bansa natin. And because we look up to them as a model of democracy, it will be nice, no? Even ordinary politicians, if they learn from this, magkakaroon ng decency and improvement, no? It's not enough na sabihin lang natin na ganito yan, ganito. But kita mo, nababalidate yung mga asal ng mga ibang leader na binabastos ng mga institusyon o mga dahil nakikita nila kung itong ating nagturo sa atin ng constitution at democracy, ganyan ang asal eh. So ano pa nga yun mo. But yun lang, ganun lang kasi halimbawa. That's why again, I mentioned kanina yung very emotional, heartwarming reaction ng isa sa TV anchor, si Van Jones ng CNN, when he cried and he said that he can tell his son that you can now look to the President of the US and say, there is hope, there is decency, there is good governance that is to be expected. And because character is very important in any leadership, much more integrity. So, dun lang, may pakinabang na ang Pilipinas. Kasi, whether we like it or not, kahit ano pang sabihin natin na we should be independent, wala kang magagawa. Ano talaga, that's the reality. We have to, of course, we will not be slave to whatever other countries would say. But what I'm saying is we should filter everything, but it's a good thing that what the people can see is what should be a leader and good governance should be. So yun lang. Maraming salamat, Camelo.
Okay, Professor Lucio Blanco Pitlo III, please.
Malaking bagay po sa akin yung ano, no? Yung commitment ni Biden sa multilateralism at globalization, no? So una, maraming problema sa mundo na hindi kayang iresolba ng isang bansa lang. For instance, yung climate change, no? I think malaking signal yung binitawan niyang pledge, no? Promise na on day one, he will recommit US back to the Paris climate change. Bilang isang coastal country, no, maritime country, yung
Correct.
rising sea level, of course, recently we just had the strongest typhoon this year, no, and you know the year is not yet a month more, no, and so we may expect more typhoons to come, and the intensity of these typhoons, no, just multiplied by several fold, no, thanks to climate change. So I think having a global leader like US recommitting to a multilateral platform and process to compel countries, no, to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. I think it's a big boost, no, for multilateral covenants like the Paris climate change and similar others, no. Now, when it comes to globalization, yung rising threat of protectionism, no, and the use of tariff, no, use of sanctions instead of, say, for instance, putting your trade dispute to WTO, trade dispute settlement mechanism. So I think yung commitment to globalization is an important, a very important agenda, no, that US, being a champion of free trade, no, certainly other countries will take that as you know, a good lead to follow, no? So I think yung multilateral trade deals, no, may follow, and that is something that countries like the Philippines can directly benefit from. It may open markets for us. It may allow us to get more investments, no. Now more and more companies are trying to relocate, no, or diversify away from China because of the trade dispute, no. So maraming kapitbahay natin, no, they're trying to position, no, to seize opportunities, no, from this trend, no. Companies from China, US, Korea, Taiwan, Japan, they're trying to relocate part of their production and supply chains, no, into Southeast Asia. So we should be getting more of that, and it would be good, no, to see more US investments, no, coming into the Philippines. So I think yun lang, no, multilateralism and globalization alone is already a big benefit for us.
Okay, very well. Mga kaibigan, batikan suki sa nagaganap di lamang sa Pilipinas kung hindi sa Estados Unidos at sa daigdig. Isang issue na pinag-usapan kanina sa France 24 ay kung anong gagawin ni Pangulong Biden kay Donald Trump sa oras na mawala na yung kanyang presidential immunity sa ika-20 ng Enero. Ang sabi ng isang resource person, pwedeng ituloy yung kaso, bakit ang hindi? Pero pwede rin siyang maging tulad ni Nelson Mandela na hindi naman sasabihin, oh, patawarin na lang yan. Pero kailangan meron din nakaupulang pahayag doon sa nagkasala. Katulad nung naganap sa South Africa, yung kanilang Truth Commission. Nag-iyakan sila, naglabasan ng sama ng loob, pero nanatili yung kanilang pagkakaisa. And for this interview, siguro I can say something like, regardless of who sits at the White House, they're all Americans. They're expected to pursue American interests worldwide. However, there may be some differences in the approach. Kaya makikita natin yan sa mga susunod na panahon. Mr. Nelson Mandela was quoted saying, "Let there be justice for all. Let there be peace for all. Let there be work, bread, water, and salt for all. Let us know that for each, the body, the mind, and the soul have been freed to fulfill themselves. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. God bless us all. It's a blessed Sunday for all of us. Thank you, Professor Lucio,
Thank you, Camelo.
Professor Tony Ligon. Have a nice day. God bless
Salamat
us.
po, Camelo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salamat,
Happy weekend,
Professor
Professor.
Ligon. Kamusta
Thank
po?
you.
Salamat.
Salamat po.